All right. Well, again, welcome in everybody. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving weekend. This is our kind of end of year product updates webinar. So we're excited to go through some new features that we've been able to add. And then we also will be having a time here at the end to go over some, or for you to give us some feature requests that you may have. And we'll be able to compile those and start making a list for the next year of the production cycle. So I'm Luke Arthod. I'll be hosting the webinar along with Jacob Morhart. We're going to go through and again go over some of these features and new products that we've put into PCT Agcloud, and give you an overview of some of those new functionalities. Webinar today, we'll be again going over those some of the new features that were added to PCT, and most of these were from feature requests, or a lot of them were anyways. So definitely a good reminder that your feature requests are heard by us, and we try our best to put those in for you. So these are some of those that got put in that we'll be looking at. The first one will be the configuration tool. The layer editor, we'll be looking a little bit at how to use AI and ChatGPT in formula creation and editing. We've had some manual RX updates that we'll take a look at as well. And then Jacob's going to walk us through some updates to the sampling process, both in the app and then with the lab check-in sheet. And then also some coming updates to the boundary editor. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. So I'll get my screen up here. And we'll go to that configuration tool and just jump right in. So the configuration tool can be accessed if you click on your username up here in the top right, and then go to configuration. So these are, a lot of them are kind of templates or like dealer or grower level settings that can be saved that are applied to either level that you save that at. And we've got this broken out into a few tabs here. So I'll just quickly go through all of these, starting with the import mappings. So I'll go ahead and select a dealer here. And essentially what this tool is doing is allowing you to map out your own import templates, either for CSVs or shapefiles. So an example here, say you have a soil result CSV that you're trying to import into PCT, and some of those attributes aren't being automatically recognized for the import. What this tool allows you to do is basically just copy and paste those file attributes into this box here. I'll go ahead and create a new one just for an example. And then you can map that out to a layer type within PCT. So in this instance, I'll go ahead and do soil K Malic 3. And then you can set the unit. Depending on the layer type, you can select a crop as well. And then whenever you're finished with that, you can hit save, so that anytime a file is imported with that file attribute, the system will know that it's associated to that layer type, and it'll import automatically from there. So like, well, in this tool and all of the other tools in the configuration tool that we'll get to, you can set this either at the dealer or the grower level. So if you have a specific grower that has some file attributes that you want to map out, you can just have that for the grower, and it won't affect any of the other growers within your dealer. You can also export these templates and import them to other dealers or other growers as well, with this export button. The protein zones thresholds, we won't spend very much time on this. This is for our Protein Pro customers. Protein Pro is a specialty solution that we offer through Deere and their Harvest Lab 3000 sensors. So won't get into this, but this is an option where you can set up those thresholds and customize those. The auto filters tool is one that we've had for a little bit, but placed it here in this configuration tool just to get to it a little bit easier. Like the import mappings tool, you can select a dealer and you can set these auto filters to the grower level as well. And what this does is allows you to configure your own data editing filters to be applied at import. So we do have auto filters that are applied automatically. It's just kind of a default that's applied based on the data set. But if you are always having to go into data editor and apply further filters or adjust those filters, this tool allows you to do that on the front end so that those edits can be applied automatically. So this just gives you the full list of filters that you would have in the data edit tool and allows you to set those up. You can select your operation and then specify it by crop. And then you can save those again, either at the dealer level or the grower level. So for instance, if you have a grower that maybe has some older equipment or just some stuff that requires maybe a little bit more editing or a very specific filter to be applied, you can go ahead and set this to that grower so that it's only being applied to their data sets. And again, these can be exported and imported as well. And then finally, the Legends tool. So this is another tool that has been available for some time, but was put in here to the configuration tool for easier access. So like the other tools, either the dealer level or grower level is available. You can import and export these as well. We won't spend just a ton of time on how to utilize this tool. That would take a little bit. And we need to go ahead and get to some other topics. But I will post another link here in the chat to our knowledge base article over this tool. There's a video attached as well, so if you'd like to explore how to set up Legends, those are definitely some good resources to explore. And then moving on to another tool that was put in. It's going to be this layer editor. So this tool is built for post-calibrating yield data. The way it works is you can go ahead and select farms and seasons. Select a few seasons here. And when I hit search, it's going to pull up all of the layers within that query. You can further filter these down with the search bars if you're just after a specific crop or specific field. And what this allows you to do is update a layer's totals either by an average or a total. And you can apply those to then update that layer. The same functionality is also available within the data editor. If you go to that yield layer, there's an option to adjust, but this allows you to see them all here at the same time rather than clicking through the data sets. And there's also an option, we click the action button over here to do a bulk edit. So in this case, you can select one crop at a time and apply a new grand total or adjust by a percentage or a new average that then affects all of those layers in bulk. There's also shortcuts where you can jump to that specific layer in view or open up that data set in data editor. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and touch on formulas and using ChatGPT to aid in formula editing and formula creation and conversion. Um, so I'll go in here to the formulas tool, and I've got an example that we'll go ahead and use. Okay, here we go. So I've got this formula here. If I try to test this, I get an error because I've got a parenthesis error, or at least a parenthesis error that's going on in here. I think anybody who's dealt with formulas for any amount of time at all knows how annoying it is to look through these and try to find an extra parenthesis or a missing parenthesis or comma. Can be very time consuming and difficult and straining on the eyes. So a really good use for AI that we have found is to fix those formulas. So you can simply just copy that formula, take it into ChatGPT, and say, fix this formula, and then I'll just paste it in. And not only will this fix the formula, but it's also going to restructure it so that it's a little bit easier to read. And it also will give you options in some cases to simplify the formula if there's ways that can be accomplished. So after that's been corrected, you can simply just copy this, take it back into PCT, hit edit, and paste that in. So now if I try to test this again, you can see it's functioning now and is all correct. So definitely a good use for that. ChatGPT can also be used to convert formulas. Say if you have one in a Excel spreadsheet, you can paste that spreadsheet into ChatGPT, and it's pretty effective at converting that into PCT Agcloud's formula language. It can also create formulas. You have to be pretty specific with the prompts, and it is learning how to do that better as it gets used more. But that is a way to use this as well. We are currently building in some AI tools directly into PCT, so definitely be on the lookout for those. Trying to build some of that functionality that is in ChatGPT and other AI engines into PCT natively. So really excited about that, and hopefully that'll make some of these processes a little bit easier. One other small update that was added here in the formulas tool is the case sensitivity has been changed. So used to, like with these if statements, for example, they had to be lowercase. Now the case sensitivity isn't as big of a deal. That can be uppercase and it won't throw any errors, and it'll operate just fine. So that's another thing that's been added that's definitely nice to have. Oh, and I see here in the chat, I guess Dusty can't see my screen. Can everyone else see my screen? Surely I haven't gone this far without anybody being able to see it. Looks like we're good. Okay. All right, we'll keep going then. So the last thing I'm going to touch on before we pass it over to Jacob is an update that we've put in here to the manual RX tool. And that's going to be specifically under this product selection. So we've got a couple different options now. The standard is what we've always had here, where you've got the selections here at the top on your product type. And then it allows you to choose from a set list of products, add a cost, set your application date. And then if your specific product isn't within this list, you can press the plus button, add in a name, and then choose whether it's liquid or solid, and that'll affect what units you can select. Now under the simplified tab, you can basically just jump straight to that adding a product, where you can select your product type and then just type in your product name, select your units, and then you still have the cost and the application date as well. So that is an adjustment to this tool that may make the workflow for some of you a little bit easier. Okay, before I pass it over to Jacob, I did want to mention there were a couple of updates made to some of the analytic tools as well, especially yield and soil points. So that may look a little bit differently in there. Overall functionality is pretty much the same, but there have been some updates to those tools as well. But with that, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Jacob. Oh, and I did forget to mention, sorry, Jacob. If you guys have any feature requests that you've already thought of, you can go ahead and be typing those out in the chat. We're not going to have time to give a full detailed response and timetable and anything like that for the feature requests that are brought up. But we are compiling these and putting them in a list. So if you want to go ahead and put your requests in the chat, you can definitely do that.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. So like Luke said, I'm going to be going over a couple of product updates, a couple of additions we were able to get put in here towards the end of the year. Start out with a couple of videos. One will be over the soil sampling app and a couple of things we've added there. And then we'll have I got a couple videos on core logging soil sampling. So one there starting from scratch and one starting from cores we already have. Then we'll go over a couple things on the lab check-in sheets. I'll show you a little bit of the new boundary editor tool, and then we'll open it up for the feature requests. So like I said, this start with the sampling app here. So I've got logged into the sampling app. What we're really looking at today, the big addition is the viewing plans on multiple fields, multiple plans at the same time. Point archiving is in development test. It'll be coming pretty soon. So we'll have an email or newsletter send out when some of those other features get added here before the end of the year. So be on the lookout for point archiving coming to the sampling app. But run through this video real quick and show you how to view plans and create plans on multiple fields. So I'm going to get logged in. First of all, go up to the grower, select my grower. I'm going to load my fields and plans. And then I'll go back to the drop down and select the fields. The first plan in the list should auto-select. If it doesn't, you can hit the drop down and select specific plans for that field to view on the map. So you can see there we've got two fields, we've got two plans. I can see everything all at the same time. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these off, and then I'm going to create a new plan for both of these fields. So we're just going to hit the plus button on the right side there, hit that grid map, and then you'll see at the bottom there's a slider down there for different options to set your grid. The first one's going to be for feet. You can also switch that to acres. And add that. You can grab a point and move your grid around on the map to get it where you want it. The next one, if we switch over there, you can go to degrees to rotate it. You can set a specific number of samples. And then once you get your grid the way that you like it, we can hit the save button at the top, or the check mark button at the top, and then that'll save your grid settings. And then if you hit the save button one more time, that'll create those plans. Once those are created, you'll see that we get a notification for the settings that we have new plans to sync. So you'll see there, those top two are the ones I just created, and I'm going to go ahead and upload those back to PCT. And then that uploads, and now those new plans will be available for you on the web version. The next thing we're going to look at is the core logging. So get this video pulled up here. So from this one, we're going to start from scratch in this field. I've got two zones that I've created. And so We're going to go to the soil data tab, create a new plan, go to zone mode, and then you'll get the core logging button here. You have some other options for keeping your sample ID the same, or you can allow a flexible ID. We can set a specific number of samples per zone. And then you have the same features that you have on the regular soil sampling plan creation, where we can set it on a grid distance, shift it north and south, rotation, east and west, and then you can always change your intended sampling date. So here I'm going to put the number of points I want in each zone, and then I can click and drag those around and get them into the field where I want to take my samples. Once you have your sample locations set, one thing to remember here that I didn't do in this video, but I did in the next one, is to process by zones should be checked. And so once that's done, we'll save the plan. And now I can open my plan here, get my lab check-in sheet. And you'll notice now that with the new features, while we have 3 sample locations in one zone, we are going to be combining those into one sample bag, one sample box to send to the lab. So we're only going to have one line on the check-in sheet for each of those zones. And now we'll look at the same process, but using cores that we already had. So we'll go to the sample plans tab, make sure we have a plan selected, hit new plan, and then create from displayed cores. So now you go through the same process. You can change your intended sampling date. We don't need to move the points around this time because we're making a plan from old points. So we'll save that, make sure our process by zones is selected. And now I can select that new plan, get my lab check-in sheet for it. And it also, as you see there, will only have one line for each one. So the next thing we'll look at is the new lab check-in sheets. So depending on which lab you're sending your samples to, if we have an integration with that lab, the check-in sheet's going to look a little bit different now. So depending on the lab in this details box, you'll have some new lines here for specific things that that lab is looking for. So Waypoint has a submitter ID and a customer number. I think Midwest has this order number, and then we have some for just a generic lab. So if you notice anything different with your lab check-in sheets, likely that's what it is. We just added some specifics to those, depending on which lab you were sending those to. The last thing I'm going to do before we get into the feature request, this just got added very recently. It's the new boundary editor. So this is still in our dev environment. Like I said, with the point archiving on the app, we should be sending out a notice when these things go to production, but did want to give everybody a little preview today of what this looks like. So I'm in the setup tool. I've navigated to a single field here. If I go to my 3-dot menu, can go to this boundary editor. So used to the boundary editor was really just moving the vertexes around, changing some things. We added some drawing tools into it. So we'll start at the top. We can change the name from here. We've got an opacity slider that you can change. We also have some undo buttons on the top. And then as you get into the main part here, we've got our paint tool, so you can change your brush size. We can use a paint bucket to fill in areas. We've got the erase tool, free point with a polygon draw, draw with a rectangle, a circle, and then we can still edit the vertex points. So you can click and drag these. We've got an undo button from there if you don't like where that ended up. And then also you'll see here under this obstacles, we've got passable, impassable, so we can add that as well. So if you want to edit a different part of the boundary, just select the edit this zone button. So now if I wanted a passable internal boundary here, and I just wanted to do a free draw polygon for that, I can go in here, draw my polygon, click on my starting point, and now I've got a passable boundary inside. You can set this to be irrigated or non-irrigated, and then also change your ownership, rented, owned, or shared. And then when you get done with everything, just hit the save button at the bottom. And then we've got a new field boundary saved.